trace evidence to, or fibers. So there are two broad groups of fibers. They consist of natural fibers and manufactured fibers. Natural fibers come from animal sources such as sheep, or they come from plant sources such as cotton. And this is a picture of a cotton field. Natural fibers that come from animals include wool that comes from sheep, mohair and cashmere that comes from goats, and you can also make fibers from alpacas, which is my personal favorite. This is a picture of John Lennon wearing I believe it's a mink coat. And so the one we're going to talk about is wool. Comes from the follicles of animals in the Comprinidae family, and the follicles, or the fiber is actually crimped and it's quite elastic, and wool grows in staples or clusters. And wool is really hard to ignite, so it has a high ignition temperature and has a has a low rate of flame spread and low heat release, and it doesn't, it doesn't melt or drip, and it chars, so it's insulating and self-extinguishes, and it doesn't emit toxic gases or smoke. So this is why wool is used in a lot of consumer products and kids' clothes, because it's used in carpets, and it's used in addition, it's used in garments for firefighters and soldiers. Cotton is the prevalent plant fiber. It's a staple fiber, and it's quite soft, and it grows around the seeds of a cotton plant. And if you burn it, as you will do in the lab, it burns with a steady flame, and you should note the smell. It'll smell like burning leaves because it's a plant. And then it leaves behind this ash that you could crumble easily, and if you want to blow out the cotton, it could be blown out just like a candle. The two main types of manufactured fibers or man-made fibers are the regenerated fibers that are derived from cotton or wood pulp, processed, and you extract pure cellulose to produce these fibers. And these fibers include rayon, acetate, and triacetate. And then there's synthetic fibers that are produced from synthetic chemicals, and these include nylons, polyester, and acrylics. So what we have on one term to note in manufactured fibers are polymers. So polymers are macromolecules, so it's a large number of atoms that are repeating in a range of repeating units, and these repeating units are known as monomers. So in this case, you can see this is nylon. Nylon is a polyamide, and you get it from having these two monomers combined, and then what you have is a dicarboxylic acid and a diamine, and then you form a polyamide, and then this repeats, and then this repeats over and over, and then that becomes the polymer. Kevlar is the registered trademark for a light, strong paraamide synthetic fiber. It's synthesized in solution from the monomers 1,4-phenylene and diamine and terethiol chloride in a condensation reaction, and it derives part of its high strength from its intermolecular hydrogen bonds formed during between the carbonyl groups and the protons on neighboring polymer chains. Polyester has high tenacity, high strength, and it has low water absorption, which is why it's used in a lot of athletic wear, and it doesn't shrink as much as such as cotton, so there's minimal shrinkage that occurs with polyester. It can be spun with natural fibers such as cotton. And polyester is a category of polymers which contains the ester functional group in their main chain. So other classes of polymers include proteins. There's a polyamide, polyester, acrylics, and cellulose. First method of analyzing fiber evidence is using a microscope. And in our lab, these are the ones that are important, where you're going to look at the color and diameter characteristics. So you're going to see if the color is uniform throughout, or if there's certain shades and such, I guess, stuff like that. And then you also look for diameter characteristics, if the diameter is uniform throughout the whole strand, or if it gets wider and thinner, and so on and so forth. And then there's these lengthwise striations on surfaces. So you're going to look along the strand and see if there's any little lines or line markings that go along the strand. And then you're going to look for presence of the lustering particles. These are used to reduce shine. Typically it's titanium dioxide, and it's used to, such as polyester, to reduce the sheen of polyester. And if possible, we're going to try to do this cross-sectional shape of the fiber. So you're going to look at the cross-sectional characteristics of the fiber. And we're not sure if this is possible in our lab, but if we would look at compositional differences in the dyes applied to the fibers. So we would, textile fabrics are impregnated with a mixture of dyes, so you get the certain shade or color that you want. More advanced techniques or analytical techniques that we can't use in the lab, but that they employ, are using the visible light microspectrophotometer, and you could compare the colors of fibers through spectral patterns, and it's not limited to by sample size, and it's so you could do something as small as 1 millimeter long or less, and it's non-destructive. If you want to do more detailed fiber dye composition analysis, you would use chromatographic separation, so such as thin layer chromatography or TLC, or if you want to identify the class of fibers that this belongs to, you could also do infrared spectrophotometry. If you want to determine the chemical composition, you could look at the polymeric structure as well as the microscopic characteristics. So there are at least 4 different nylon that are commercially available, and there are many properties that are in common, but there are differences in like the physical shape, appearance, and dyeability. So because of the modification of the chemical structure, so this is what you would look at, is how different you could differentiate between the different types of nylon. You could also look at birefringence, which if we did the glass lab, I'm not sure if we would have done it by now. If we did that lab, it's you would be familiar with what that means, but if you don't, what it is the polymer causes crystallinity in the finished fiber, so then it exhibits this double refraction when there's a light that is shine upon it. So there's a polarized plane of light for the class of fiber, and it has a characteristic index of refraction, and that's what we would look for. And you could also use infrared spectrophotometry and microspectrophotometer, and then this is polymers that in these manufactured fibers, they absorb infrared light selectively, so you can identify class and sometimes even the subclasses of fiber based on these techniques. So for collection and preservation, if there's minute strands of fibers, you identify and you preserve the potential carrier, so you would collect everything, such as the shirt or whatever that you would, or like even the sofa, you would try to collect all of that. So you collect the carriers of these small strands, minute strands of fibers, and anything that has, I guess, some relevant articles of clothing,
So you package these in separate paper bags so you don't have this cross-contamination. And if necessary, you would use clean forceps and you place these fibers in a small sheet of paper and use similar to a drugger's fold, and you place that little paper packet into another container for to preserve and carry away.